All our players played extremely hard. I think we played very, very physical. We went up there with every intentions of winning the ball game. Obviously, it didn't happen. We had our chances. Just didn't come up with a couple key plays on both sides of the ball late in the ball game, and because of that, the score was what it was. At the very worst, it probably should have been 14-9. Obviously, in my opinion, it should have been 9-7, but we didn't make two plays at the end of the game, which kept us from winning. If you look at it offensively, the good, the bad, and the ugly. First of all, the good part, we kept the ball for right at 37.5 minutes, which is if anytime you've got that kind of possession time, you ought to have a chance to win. We had 19 first downs. We had 185 yards rushing, but when you take away the sacks, then it got back down to where it shouldn't have been. But we ran the ball pretty good overall. Obviously, the ugly part of it, we were 1 for 19 on third down conversions, which is absolutely amazing because you think when you have that kind of possession time that you would have a better percentage of third downs, but that's 1 out of 19. That's not giving yourself a very good chance to win. And obviously, we had 9 sacks. 4 of those being really on the last drive, which we're just trying to get back in the ball game, and we couldn't do a very good job of holding them out. So I thought the positives of the game, I thought Juwan Stinson and Fallon Lee both ran the ball extremely well. Both of them had it right at 75 yards apiece. So they're starting to give us a running attack that hopefully will give us a chance to be competitive because, like I said, the things that we've got to do, we've got to be able to run the ball well. We've got to run some time off the clock. We've got to do a good job of not getting ourselves in third and longs. And then, obviously, we've got to make sure we don't turn the ball over. And, we did some of those things well, some of them we didn't. Dalton Poncelli did another good job. He's been our most consistent receiver right now because we've been able to count on him week in and week out. And he's done a really, really good job for us. But, again, obviously, when you have 9 sacks on offense, you convert 1 out of 19. We didn't have the consistency that we should have had. And you look at the stat sheet, and like I say, when you look at it, when you look at the possession time, you look at the positive amount of yards rushing, that sounds good. But then you look at the negative part. When you have 9 sacks and lose all those yards we lost and are 1 for 19, you're going to have a tough time with most teams. Defensively, by far our best game we've played all year. We really gave up 1 play, which was a big one. That can't happen. When you going out on that last defensive possession, that we need to keep the ball in the ballpark. And quite honestly, our cornerback tried to play uptight, and he shouldn't have been. So that's just we got to do a better job of coaching the down and distance, time in the game, that type of thing. Because once he got behind us, and that was their best receiver, or let me rephrase that, their fastest receiver. So that was a play we shouldn't have given up, and that obviously was the play that won the ball game. But you look at it defensively, the goods of it. We had 3 takeaways. We had 5 sacks. We had they only were 3 of 14 on third down conversions. We made them punt 9 times. We had 9 minus yards tackles. They had 322 yards, obviously 85 of those coming on 1 play. So defensively, we have made a lot of improvement the last 3 games, and I like the direction we're going, especially with the players we got. So we're excited about that. Special team-wise, J.J. German came in, did a really nice job of kicking 3 field goals. Obviously, one of those field goals should have been a touchdown if it had been maybe a totally different ball game. But to me, what ifs? We had a couple mistakes early in the kicking game that because of their mistakes, we got the ball back. A kickoff, a punt block, and then basically a kickoff. So we can't do that week in, week out and have a chance. And that's I thought after that they played pretty good, but we've got to do a better job on our kicking game to be consistent and not get ourselves out of things early in the game. Defensively, Austin Gatewood played by far his best ball game. He had 9 hits. He had 2.5 sacks. Had another tackle for a loss. Played very, very physical. By far his best ball game, and he played very, very well. Dylan Weigel played his normal game. He had about 10 tackles, and he's been our most consistent player all year. But I think a lot of the guys are getting better as we go. So, like I say, it's a game that it was hard to swallow for me and the players and the other coaches because, to me, what ifs, we had a legitimate chance to win at the end of the game, and that's what we've been looking for, and we just didn't get it done. I mean, we've got to learn how to win. That's very, very important. everybody thinks that part of it's easy, and obviously it is easy if you got a 40-point lead, but we're not in that position. We've got to learn how to win and get ahead of them in a close ball game and keep that lead and get out of the ball game with a W, and we weren't able to do that. So, again, a lot of disappointment, a lot of goods. I do feel like Montana State, Warner, and obviously Robert Morris, I do feel like that's the most improvement. We've made 3 straight games. So I do feel like we're starting to look like an FCS football team, even though we're a long way from being where we want to be yet. But I do feel like that we've got a lot of young men that's going to give us a chance to get our program where it needs to be. And once we get there, then I think we'll have a chance to be competitive week in and week out. Obviously, if you look at our schedule, a lot of the teams are probably better than you would thought they've been last year on paper. You look at who's done what. There's been some teams that we've played that got a chance to win their conference. Have beaten the number 1 team in the country, or number 3 team in the country. So, it's not like we're playing a schedule that's just games. We're playing some, I think, some people that have a chance to be top 20 teams, and hopefully at some point we'll have a chance to do that too. But that's about where the Robert Morris game was, and the quarterback situation. I'll talk about that a little bit because I know there's been a lot of discussion on internet and all that, and I don't get into all that. But if you look at it, Austin Heinrich, he played right at 71% of the time. Nick Sexton played 29% of the time. Austin played 61 plays. Nick played 25. A couple of weeks ago, when Austin wasn't playing as well as we felt like he should be, that's kind of when we went back to giving both of them reps in a ball game. So that's a decision we make as a coaching staff, and obviously that's my decision as a head coach. The offensive staff looks to see what needs to be done, what can be done, and quite honestly, both quarterbacks were running for their lives at times. You look at it, Austin got sacked 6 times, and Nick got sacked 3. Both of them were about 44% on passing percentage, which is not good enough to, give us a chance to win on when we have to pass. And that's the reason we don't like getting 3rd and long situations or late in the ball game, having to throw the ball to try to win the ball game. So both those young men, we're glad to have them. I think both of them have a lot to do with the success of our football team. And obviously both of them are competitive, and they did some nice things. We got some things we got to do better. Obviously, we got to figure out the best way to give them a chance to be successful on passing downs, because we don't want them running for their lives when it's 3rd down and 8, because that's not good for them or not good for receivers as well, because it takes everything off rhythm. So we've got to do a better job of that. But we came out of it fairly injury-free. It's just that time of year. The ones that are still able to play got to play. And then the ones that can't play, then you got to just continue to move on. So we've got some things that we need to get better, and it's like we've talked to our players. This is our last chance this year to get an FCS win, and that's important to us. Gardner-Webb brings a great challenge to us. They've got a really, really good defensive football team, well coached all the way around. But on defense, they've been in every ball game, have not given up many points. I think they've given up an average of 22. They've played 3 top 20 FCS schools. They beat Liberty, and I think Liberty at that time was ranked in the top 10, so that was a big, big win for them. Obviously, when they played a little bit later on, they had opportunities against Charleston Southern, and I can't remember who the other one was. Jay, you remember who the other one was right offhand? Coastal Carolina, and we know both those are, been top-ranked teams. So they've played some good football teams. They're sitting here at 3-6 right now. With a little more production on offense, probably could have been over 500, but they are a very, very well-coached football team. Carroll McRae, I've known him since probably about 25 years of age, and he does a great job. He's got a great, great staff, and they do a good job of coaching, and they are blessed with good athletes. Their defensive line is really, really big. They've got 2 300-pounders that can run around. One of these days they may be in a different league, but if you look at them on defense, they play really hard, very aggressive. I think they're similar to Robert Morris. That is a compliment, because I thought Robert Morris played very, very well. And, Gardner-Webb's played from, beginning of the game to the end. They've played hard every game. They play very, very sound. They don't give many yards on the rush, and they don't give up big plays. So they're a very, very sound, solid defense with good athletes. Offensively, The guy that makes their offense go, obviously, is their quarterback, Maxwell. He's leading rusher by far, and he's their leading passer by far. So, everything starts with him and finishes with him. So for us to win the ball game, we're going to have to make sure that he doesn't scramble around, because he's really good at quarterback scrambles. He's good at the quarterback draw, and they run enough option to keep you honest. So got a very diverse offense in the fact that they do a lot of different things, but I think the key to them is their quarterback, Maxwell, and he's the one that makes that offense go. But they've been kind of hot and cold. They've scored some points in some games, and then they've struggled others, but they have played some really, really good defensive football teams. So we know we'll have our hands full. I think Coach McCray and that staff, their winning percentage over the last 2 years that he's been there has been about 75% winning at Gardner-Webb, and so it's obviously a harder place to play than a lot of places are. But they've got a good, solid football team, and they've been very, very competitive in their league, which is the Big South. And it'll be another big-time challenge for us. And what we want to do is go down there and improve and give ourselves a chance to win going into the fourth quarter. But I do feel like if we'll play well, do the things that we've talked about each week, that we'll have a chance to win the football game. So we've got a lot of good things going on right now other than the fact of winning. And that's the main thing, is we need to win. We've got to learn how to win. Everybody thinks winning's easy, and it is easy if you got 50-7 lead going in the last 2 minutes of the game. But when it's 6 points, 7 points, 3 points, then you got to figure out a way how to make it work there at the end so that you come out with the most points on the scoreboard. And we have not done a good job of that, even though, in my opinion, I think the last 3 weeks we have looked like a very solid football team and given ourselves some chances to do some things that will help us get better down the road.